Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to follow up on the trade setup we were looking at in the 15-minute NASDAQ from yesterday. I always believe it's good to follow up on any analysis we've been doing to see how it unfolded, particularly as we were looking at that in real time yesterday. Right, but first we need to look at our risk disclaimer and remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades were taken, they're just shown for illustration and trading purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept, that losses can and will and do unfold. That's an important point in any trading. There always will be losing trades. All trade decisions are your own sole responsibility. Right, the trade setup we were looking at yesterday was this TS4 HG or Holy Grail trade setup on a 15-minute chart of the NQ using our 24-hour session data. If you remember, the market was in around this level here. If I place the analysis on, right mouse click of the blue buy bar, the market was basically in around here in yesterday's video, about here somewhere. So it was sitting on about 3 or 4 hour profit. So as you can see, the market did actually carried on up to around about 9 hour profit here, back down again, and came back up again to around again almost 10 hour profit, 9.7 hour profit there. So how could you have managed this? Well, what I want to do as well is just to check that we're coming off good support and to see where this Holy Grail target falls in relation to our higher time frame chart. I'll go out to the hourly chart. Remember, for the higher time frame, we look at a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames higher. So if you're on a 15-minute chart as we are here, you'd go out to the hourly chart. Right, so this would be where our last pivot low was coming in here. So I'll put that on. This was where our 15-minute Holy Grail buy was, and the market started to rally up. So let's place our next resistance area. I'll take the chart back to as it was at the time. So about here. This is about here. So we've got our pivots as they were at the time. So this was about where our trade setup came in. For our 60-minute resistance area, we'd then go right mouse click, decision point off this high here, and this would then give us our resistance area. There it is out there in advance. So I'll now turn training mode off, and let's go back and have a look at seeing what's happening on our 15-minute chart. So this is what was happening. Basically, the market was going up. I want to go back. Let's do it before basically that sharp fall. That's when North Korea decided to do a missile launch, and then the market fell sharply. But I want to have a look at what the market was doing here, in particularly as it was getting very close to our higher time frame resistance. You see that? There's our higher time frame resistance. If I grab and have a look at what the risk reward would have been at that level, it would have been 10 hour profit. Where did the market get up to? Well, 9.7 hour. So can you see how you were very, very, very close to our higher time frame resistance? So what's the sensible thing to do at this particular point in time when you're so close to your target? Well, one of the sensible things to do would be to just trail at your 1 bar lows, and actually I need to go back a little bit further, so I need to go back to this bar here. So I'll see if I can go back a bit further to this bar here. So you'd basically trail below, 1 tick below that bar there, and lock in about 7.7 hour profit. Were there any other reasons why you might be wanting to do that, basically protect your profit at this particular point in time as well? Well, yes, there was, because if I go to the day session only chart at that same time, I'll just show you what the time was here. The time was at 12:30, in around 12:30 on the 28th of November. So if we see what the day session was doing in around 12:30, which was about here, 12:30. Oops, I'll just take that one off. I'll have a look at that in a minute. Can you see how on the day session only chart, this was a shorter time frame chart, this was a 3-minute chart, we had a valid VS sell here. By the way, there was actually a nice TS3 buy setup here on the way up on the day session only chart that actually made a nice 2.5 hour profit, but that was by the by. But what I was looking at here is this VS sell setup. If I right mouse click, place the analysis on, The market came down, retraced back up again a bit, did not go to our stop target before it came down and hit that target there. But the point being is there was a short trade on the regular trading hours or the 24-hour session on a slightly shorter time frame coming in at the same time as we were here. So can you see how, particularly when you were only a few ticks away from your profit target, particularly the higher time frame resistance zone, it made sense to start to bring your stop a bit closer and protect your profit. So if you'd done that, as we've seen, if I turn training mode off, the market then fell sharply as North Korea launched a missile test, and you would have come out for a nice 7.6 hour profit. So do you see that? The result would have been 7.6 hour profit. So it was a very good trade setup. But can you see how managing your trade, this is why I don't like black box systems. It's basically, as a human being, you need to be assessing your trade as it goes with you, and have a look when you get close to your targets and use common sense. Basically, there's no point trying to do things mechanically when other things are influencing the market. So in this case, it was sensible to bring your stop just one tick below that bar. If it had carried on going up, then of course you'd have trailed one tick below the bar lows, you'd have gone up and reached your target nicely. But as you can see in this particular circumstance, it then protected you from this sharp fall here. Out of interest, where did that sharp fall come into? Well, I'll go out to the high time frame chart, the hourly chart. If I go back to this last pivot low here, right mouse click decision point, that's where it came in at the low there. This can be seen even clearer on the day session only chart. You can see it carried on down through. So on the day session only chart, if I go out to the higher time frame, which would have been the 15-minute, here was the last pivot low. Can you see that quite clearly? There was a major pivot low there. If I right mouse click, do DP, this would have been on your chart in advance. Remember that these levels are leading indicators. They're on the chart in advance. So this level would have been here as the Nasdaq started to go down. And if we go back and have a look at the 3-minute chart, just look what happened. Bang, right down to that level before it made the low of the day and reversed sharply. So if you'd been quite brave as it was coming down to this target, can you see how the STF was strong? Do you see that? The STF was beyond its strength band, so at the very least you want to be trailing at the ATR stop. But as it now bounced back down to this level, you may well again have wanted to bring your stop even closer to lock in a nice profit. If you trailed at the 1 bar high, that would have been a nice 6-hour profit. But you see how it suggested that it was going to go further by being strong, but there was our higher time frame support zone off the 15-minute chart coming in, and that nailed pretty much the low of the day really nicely. So on the short-term chart, there was actually a very nice short trade as North Korea decided to launch their missile tests on the way down there. But the one we started off by looking at today was this long trade here on the 15-minute chart, and as we've discussed, that would have come out with a nice profitable trade as well. So I thought it was important to follow up on these, particularly after the market has basically unfolded, and particularly when some other influences came in, like the North Korean test. There were also some other nice trades. If we look at a Forex chart, one we've been following in our MTPredictor training room has been the Euro US dollar on the 4-hourly chart. This was a lovely TS3 buy setup here. You can see coming off daily resistance. This is a 4-hourly chart, as I've said. Here was our daily support. Here was our daily resistance. This TS3 was in the direction of the trend, as indicated by a blue MTP trend here. As you can see, it went past its first target quite nicely, up into its higher time frame resistance for a nice 4.2-hour profit, and you can see the euro is backed off very nicely from that higher time resistance zone. So that was a nice trade on a Forex chart there that we've been looking at as well. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed looking at the Nasdaq on the follow-up of how to manage that Holy Grail long trade setup there, and also looking at what happened on the day session only chart on the Nasdaq when the missile launch from North Korea came in, particularly as you would have been short from a VS sell setup that, as you can see, was not quite the high of the day, but it was right up the high there nicely. Market came down into its first profit target, where the MTP trend was strong, indicating the market was going to go further, either trail with the ATR stop, or once it bounced into the higher time frame, support zone, which as you can see now the low of the day nicely, either look to come out there for a nice 8-hour profit or perhaps trail above the bar highs, or either way be more aggressive with your stop loss management to bring your stop loss a bit closer to the market. So overall a pretty good day for MT Predictor yesterday, with some nice trades unfolding there on the Nasdaq.